Today, your assignment is to draw 3 different types of perspective drawings. We're going to do a 1-point, a 2-point, and on the back side is a 3-point perspective. And as the perspective views increase in difficulty, the shapes that you're going to do decrease in difficulty. So for the 1-point perspective, which is supposed to be the simplest type of perspective drawing, they actually gave you the most difficult shape. So I glued together a bunch of blocks to help you see and visualize the shape that we're going to draw together just a little bit easier. Okay, it's actually 3 blocks tall, 4 blocks wide, and 2 blocks deep. Okay, so we're going to start off first. I'm going to put my name on my paper. Well, without a broken pencil. Okay, and also put your cohort and your class period as well. Okay, so now I'm going to read some of the instructions that it's giving me. I'm going to be creating a 1-point perspective drawing. We're not going to add tonal shading. Ignore the tonal shading on all of your drawings. Okay, and it's saying that the perspective sketch must show the object in the top left and front view. Okay, so we have 2 drawings here that say top, front, and right side, and this is the top, front, and left side. So it's going to be based more off of this view than anything. So the next thing that we're going to do, they've provided us with a vanishing point, and with 1-point perspective, all of your height lines are perfectly vertical, all of your width lines are horizontal, and all of your depth lines go off to that vanishing point. And with this particular shape, it's very important that we start off by drawing the entire glass box. So that's not only just the 3 faces we would see, but also the bottom inside lines and the back corner line. And this will make sense after a while. But start off with construction weight lines and projecting all of your depth information back to that vanishing point. If you ever need to pause this video at any time, please do so, and you can rewind it and go back as needed. So I projected those 4 corners back to the vanishing point. I'm going to enclose my glass box. By using vertical and horizontal lines. Okay. And again, these are supposed to be construction weight line, but I'm drawing mine a little bit dark. That way you have a better chance of actually seeing them. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of create a grid for us to work with. Okay, so the front view is divided into 4 blocks. So I'm going to kind of look at the bottom and say that looks about halfway. And so I'm going to divide that in half and that in half. And we're going to call that dividing it into fourths. Okay. For the 3 blocks tall, I'm going to take this frontmost line and I'm going to divide this into what looks like thirds. Okay. And for depth, it's only 2 blocks deep. And if you watched all the videos that I gave, well, I gave you a video and I gave you this tutorial and I gave you a PowerPoint presentation. But if you definitely paid attention to PowerPoint and the fun video that I gave you, you'll know that anything that's closer to you will look bigger and anything further away will look smaller. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of emulate that just a bit. I'm going to find what looks like the halfway point on this line and just take it back just a teeny tiny bit. So now this is only just slightly bigger than half, because what's closer to me is going to look bigger than what's further away. And the reason why I did this is it's going to help us create anything that we are going to be needing for our pieces. We are just going to be translating those lines back and forth. So the next step would be to draw what is touching the surfaces of the glass box. Okay, I'm going to start with this piece back here. So I'm going to transfer that line straight vertically. Okay, and it's 2 blocks tall, so it's missing that bottom one. So I'm going to find my point that I had for the bottom piece, and I'm going to bring that back to the vanishing point. Okay, and now this is what I'm going to darken in because that is what's touching the glass box. Make sure you have clean end points. You're not going past the starting and stopping point, and also that you're not stopping short. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to want to do, I'm going to want to make that top block. Okay, so I'm going to translate this first width line straight up, and where it hits the top of the glass box, I'm going to bring it back to the vanishing point. Okay. Also, I'm going to take where the top of this line is and bring it directly horizontal. And if you have to line up your straight edge on an already existing horizontal line, please do so, because it should look correct. Okay, so now you're going to have this crazy looking diamond situation here, and I'm going to darken in my object lines. The last piece that's touching the glass box is this front face right here. So it's the second block in. Okay, I've already got this line brought up, so I need to translate this line up as well, the one in the direct middle. Okay, and it's 2 blocks up from the bottom, so I had divided this into thirds, so I'm just going to translate that line over and then darken in what's supposed to be my object lines. Okay. Now one thing you'll notice is that when I created that construction line, I brought it all the way over to this other side, and that is for a very good reason, because I'm going to have most of my blocks are going to be at that elevation. So I'm going to need to transfer that information back. So the point where it hits the front of the glass box, or the right side of the glass box, I'm going to take that point and bring it back to the vanishing point. Okay. And I'm going to need this corner pretty soon. Okay, so we just found that. So now we're going to be filling on the inside information. Okay, and the best way to do that would be to kind of start projecting back some of our points to the vanishing point that we already know where they live, where they exist. Okay. So I'm kind of projecting these lines back to help me find the rest of this. Okay, I'm also going to take the bottom of this floating box and project it over. And I'm going to take the vertical line of the floating box and project it down. Now when I darken in 2 of my object lines, ooh, I wiggled. I gotta erase that. Neatness is always important. Okay, darken that in. Sorry, my desk is very shaky today. So now I've darkened in my floating glass box. Okay, and the reason I had you draw this back corner is because everything for your cube needs to be contained in this glass box. So you're going to be actually creating this little straight line for this edge when it hits the back edge of your glass box. Okay, that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see, is that people don't stay inside of their glass box, and it really messes up the details. Okay, so now I'm going to project this upper third. Okay, so remember I divided my front line into thirds. Okay, and I'm taking this back to the vanishing point because I need to be able to find this line right here. Okay, so what happens is when I project that back, where it hits this vertical line, okay, that divided in half, that's where I know to draw my horizontal line. Okay, and this looks like a crazy mishmash of lines, and it is, which is why as we're figuring out where things actually go, it's important to darken in your object lines. So now what I have here, I can darken that one in. When I brought this line across and I had taken this back, I now found this corner right here. So I can darken those two lines in. And I can bring this back to the corner of my glass box and project that horizontally. Whoa. This is what happens when Early draws without coffee. It's not a pretty sight, folks. Okay, so let's try that again. I'm gonna put my construction lines back. There we go. So now I'm going to project that horizontally. There we go. Across. And now I have this portion of my drawing. So the last thing I need to do is bring this down, and I need this line as well. And again, that's why I drew all these inside corners, is so that I know when to stop my object line. And all height lines go vertical, all width lines go horizontal. Okay, and the last thing I need to do is check my endpoints, make sure that everything looks nice and clean. Leave your construction lines for me. I'm going to be looking at those. And that's how you do a very complicated 1-point perspective. The 2-point perspective is a lot easier of a shape. It is 4 wide, 2 deep, and 3 tall, same dimensions. And on the back with the 3-point perspective, you're going to be using a bird's eye view. So it's going to look larger on the top, and you have your 3 vanishing points. Okay, and remember, the frontmost corner of the glass box is the only vertical line in this one. Everything else goes to a vanishing point. I hope this was helpful. Good luck on your assignment and have it ready to turn in to me when you come back to class. Thank you.